Yo, Thought Warriors. What is up? Our learning is on. It is I, Van Lathan Jr.
And it's me, Rachel Lynn Lindsay.
No pleasantries.
I know you're serious when you have a pen in your hand. Like, we're getting down to business when the pen is in your hand. I knew it. There's no, notes to people who watch this on video. When the pen is in Van's hand, we're getting down to business. There's room for nothing else.
Astute observation, Rach. Couple of things. Remember to like, subscribe, and share on YouTube. Over on YouTube and hang out with us over there. Watch a little higher learning. Rach, you are in the city of brotherly hate.
I'm in New York. I'm in a WeWork office. First time using a WeWork space. It's cute.
Never been there before. I saw some sort of documentary that they scammed
they've
everybody
downsized.
Or something like that.
I know they've downsized. Right. It's a cute space, pretty crowded, but it's functioning. I'm able to do the podcast. Here we are. So let's go.
We are coming to you guys on what is a Friday morning for me, and what is I guess Friday afternoon for Rach.
Yeah,
because you are in New York. Because we could not do the podcast and not be able to talk about said debate. So this podcast is coming out a little bit later, especially this one. So let's get right into it. Now, because we're starting right now, there will be a commercial break of some sort in between this. We might take a second, but we want to get right to it because we got a lot of stuff to talk about today, not just the debate. We have to start off with the debate. Rachel, I'm assuming you saw. I know that you watched.
I watched.
What's going on in your mind right now?
Okay. To set the stage a little bit, I was having dinner. I'm in New York with my sister and my mom, celebrating my sister's birthday during the actual debate. So my phone was blowing up from people telling me their opinions of the debate. And of course, the reaction that I was getting, as most people know that I'm for Biden, was talking about Biden's performance and how bad it was and how difficult it was to watch. And they hadn't seen anything like this from Biden ever. So that is the mindset that I'm coming in. Oh my gosh, what am I about to watch? So I'll say it wasn't as bad as I had prepared myself for, because I was just really okay, this is going to be the worst. So I think if I had watched it in real time, I probably would have had more of a dramatic reaction. But I was like, this is going to be the worst thing I've ever seen. It wasn't. I will say this. It was bad. I've never seen Biden like this before. And I'm just going to talk about the presentation of it. You know, the way he sounded, the way from the moment he walked on stage, the stiffness, the gaping mouth. He just came across very feeble. And we've heard the rumors. We saw it lived out for the first time in a way that we never had before. And it was alarming. I think that if you were reading what Biden was saying as opposed to watching him, you would have felt a little different. Not saying that he didn't stumble over his words and sometimes got lost in the points that he was making. It definitely could have hammered down on points, especially refuting the lies that were coming from Trump. But it was a bad performance. It was bad. And I think the video that we saw after of him seeming like the Biden that we've seen, the Biden of debates past or ghosts past, however you want to say it, I think that made it worse, to be honest with you.
Why is that?
Why is that? Because it looked like he's comfortable when he's not under pressure, when he's not being on live television, when he doesn't have when he isn't because he's clearly over prepared, but when he doesn't have all these things going through his brain and he has to decipher of how he's going to navigate it and refute it. Because debate, you have to listen, you have to fact check in your head, you have to be able to articulate it. There's a lot of different things that are happening in the middle of it when you're debating, anybody who's been on a debate team. The fact that he was way more comfortable when things were casual, when he was chilling at the Waffle House in a more comfortable setting, I think that made it worse. I wasn't one of those people who said, oh, look, there goes the Biden we know. That is when I became concerned.
Hmm.
Also, when you have to stand up and lead, this is a little bit more alarming. When you're under pressure, this is the man who set the rules for this debate. This is the man who called for this debate. Having a cold that his team came out and said he had shouldn't have really mattered. He didn't seem like he had a cold in the Waffle House. I that is where I said, that's the first time I said, okay, we might need to like pay attention or talk about the obvious, even though it's uncomfortable.
Are you to the point now where you would want to see President Biden
No,
step aside? You're not.
no, I'm not one of the people caught up in the hysteria. I think that's important for me to say. He had a bad night. He lost a debate, even though he lost it to a liar, because his presentation outweighed anything, as we're talking about it now, that Trump did. We expect Trump to lie. That was expected. We did not expect what we saw from Biden. I'm not going to, I think we live in a time where people just are quick to change their minds and jump on what is popular. And I'm actually shocked what I'm getting from the media, what we got right after the debate and even into this morning. I am really shocked how quickly people are turning on Joe Biden. Did they know something we didn't know? Was this the last straw? Because I'm sorry, one bad performance for me is not going to make me all of a sudden say, how many days do we have left until the convention? Should we be positioning somebody else? Should Biden step aside? I'm not there yet. I didn't like what I saw. I can say that. I can say if he does it again, we are absolutely in trouble. But what we can't do as a party, not that I'm a Democrat, but I'm supporting Biden. What we can't do is this. This does not help the cause in any kind of way that we're so quickly to turn on him after one time. It's weird.
Hmm. All right. So a couple of things. On the Waffle House point, being that he seemed more with it in the Waffle House, maybe that makes you more concerned for him in terms of his ability to outduel Donald Trump on a public stage. But wouldn't that reassure you that in situations where he has to make decisions or talk to people that aren't on this stage, which is what the presidency is essentially about. The presidency isn't about talking in big rooms. The presidency is actually it's about talking in small rooms. It's about meeting with advisors. It's about meeting with foreign dignitaries. It's about making rules and negotiations in places where there aren't actually a million cameras, where there aren't actually a bunch of people waiting and watching what you're going to say. Campaigning certainly is about being in front of the cameras and being under the lights and all of that. But I would say the job of the presidency, there's a significant messaging portion where you have to talk to people. I concede that. But the job of the presidency, which is what he's doing or what he has done for the last X amount of years, that's about talking to people in more intimate settings and being able to get your agenda through. What would you say to that?
What I would say is there was no audience. There were two moderators and there were cameras. Okay. He couldn't talk in a succinct way about policies. I'm not expecting him to say, if Trump says, oh, I've created this many black jobs or whatever, I'm not expecting him to say, actually, that's not true. It's this number. I'm not expecting that specificity in his refuting what Trump is saying. But what I am expecting is for you to say, no, this isn't true. And let me tell you exactly what I have done in this way. He wasn't clear on his messaging. He wasn't clear in refuting in Trump's lies. And you have people who are mad at Jake and Dana and saying that they should have been refuting Trump's lies, but I don't necessarily agree with that. That should have been Biden. I don't care how much time he had, if he had a minute only to do it. He should have done it. And so I would push back on what you're saying in the sense that I need the leader of this country to be able to tell me what he is doing for this country, whether it's against somebody that he is debating or it's geopolitics. Like, how are you going to represent me when it comes to negotiating and talking about what you've done or what you can do? How are you going to stand in front of Congress? Do you know what I mean? Like, that to me was the alarming part.
I understand. I'm just saying, that, like, in terms of his ability to do the job, what the debate would have, and let me just start off by saying this: the debate was a disaster. It was obvious minutes into the debate that it was going to be a bad night for Joe Biden.
Yeah.
And I'll say something else. I am not appreciative of the people who are gaslighting us. There are a lot of people out there who mean well and who want to rally around Joe Biden right now, right? And that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to rally around Joe Biden. They're supposed to talk about the qualities that the president has that they admire. They're supposed to talk about his record. They're supposed to talk about how the Democrats and the left, to a different degree, are supposed to be united right now. But don't gaslight us. What people saw on Thursday night was jarring. And it was jarring not because of a bad performance. It was jarring because of the optics of the performance.
Right.
You can lose, right? You can lose. It matters how you lose. And a lot of times in society, well, you either won or you lost. No, the way that you lose matters. There's a way to lose that says, hey, this was a close and contested contest, whatever we're talking about. If we're talking about sports, if we're talking about a debate, whatever, if we're talking about a cooking contest, there's a way to lose that demonstrates that the other person was better than you, that you were off, whatever. But there's also a way to lose that makes people believe that you shouldn't have had any business there in the first place. That's like the way Bishop Sycamore lost, right? That's like the way certain boxers lose when they're tomato cans and they're in there against somebody that the promoter is trying to build up. A loss that makes you go, why are you here in the first place? It seems like malpractice putting you out there. That's how it started for Joe Biden. Now, I will say this, if I'm being honest. Donald Trump has lost a step too. He certainly has. And the more that you watch the debate, the fact that Donald Trump wasn't able to intelligently engage on any of the questions or criticisms that were coming from either President Biden or from the moderators, that he kept looping it back to immigration. And he stayed on that the entire debate. Tells me that there's not a lot swimming around there in his head other than that. It was one note. So as things went on, the gap between Biden's disastrous performance and Trump's performance, it closed. Trump just didn't seem like, to be honest with you, that he was up to the job that night. But that just kind of, for a lot of people, doubled down on the fact that a competent Biden would have wiped the floor with him. And I'll say, and getting back to the gaslighting, I'll say this. Look, all the Democratic operatives out there, the ones that I know and the ones that I don't know, okay? Before you guys take the opportunity to admonish people for being appalled by the performance of the president, like, take into consideration how scared everybody is. People are super afraid of a Trump presidency. And part of the reason why they're so afraid of that Trump presidency is because of the messaging that's come from the Democrats and from the left. And I'm not saying that messaging is false. I'm saying that what we're being told is that the future of the country, the future of democracy, the future of our freedom, our voting rights, bodily autonomy, All of these things are on the line. This is the most important election, not the most important election to have in a country where we can all hold hands and kumbaya, but this election will decide whether or not we're going to be able to vote in certain places. This election will decide whether or not our women will be able to, women we share our community with, our women, whether or not they'll be able to have autonomy over their bodies, whether or not we'll be able to have a country that's not governed by the top 0.1% oligarchs in America in perpetuity, the deficit, solvency of Social Security, all of these things, right? This is going to decide this. And when we're doing it, choosing our fighter before the game, like if this is like Tekken or Street Fighter, it seems like they've landed on the weakest guy. And they've said, all of this stuff is on the line. This is a fight to the death. And the guy that they chose can't hold his sword. Now, whether or not you still got to get behind him, whether or not you still have to support him, whether or not you still have to show up for him, it's a different situation. We understand the realities of things, right? But don't expect people not to be afraid. You made them afraid. You made them afraid. They have reason to be afraid. Yeah. They see what Donald Trump is talking about. They see what the Project 2025 document outlays. They see what the country is moving towards. They see the destruction of the Establishment Clause. They see the suppression of people's rights. They see a far right continuously getting more and more wacky to the point that they want to suspend the Constitution. Their words are being thrown around like fascism, nationalism, all of those things. They see America devolving, and they want somebody that they feel like can fight. And they did not see that on the stage on Thursday night, and they have every right to be concerned.
So this is where I get confused for those people who are like that. I get why they're like that. Again, I've said multiple times on this podcast, we are not thrilled at the choices that we have. But if this is the messaging that you're getting from the Democrats, and you are this scared about what is looming over you if Trump steps into office, that alone, that fear alone would push me to say, I may not like the other side of it, but I definitely am too scared to experience what that is. I just don't understand how.
Who are you talking about? When you say this, who are you talking about?
The people that you say are so scared about what can happen in a Trump presidency, but are scared by what they saw last night in the debate. Like you said, they want a leader who can stand up to that, a leader who can fight against that. That's what you were saying. And I'm saying, okay, we didn't get that representation last night, but the fear, I don't understand how your fear of what could happen if he steps into office does not outweigh anything that you saw last night. If you're really that scared, if you really believe the messaging that is coming from the Democrats in regards to Project 2025 or a dictatorship or an alliance with someone we've considered an enemy, with the way that Trump phrases certain other leaders and countries, if you are that scared and you believe it, then seeing a feeble Joe Biden should not alarm you more than that. Is my opinion. Well, and on the other side, I would say to that is, I also don't understand, because I think what I haven't really seen talked about a lot, but I know this is an issue. There are people that were so bothered with what they saw last night, particularly in Joe Biden, because they were expecting a certain performance, that they don't even want to vote at all anymore. And again, I would say to those people, the fear of what could be should outweigh an older Joe Biden. He's not running the whole thing by himself. Do you believe in his administration? Do you believe in some of the things that he's done in the 4 years he's been in office? Like that, to me, it does not outweigh the other side.
So this is my deal. I don't think that the people are afraid. I don't think that they're afraid of a Joe Biden presidency. I don't think that's what they're afraid of. I think they're afraid that he can't win. So the people that are saying, hey, they're not more afraid of a Joe Biden presidency than they are of a Donald Trump presidency. They're afraid that the guy that is carrying the banner for them that is supposed to represent at least treading water until we can make some sort of change in America. They're afraid that the people that aren't as afraid of them, the people that are in the middle and looking for somebody to vote that might decide the election. Now, I tend to think that that's overblown. I tend to think that the election won't be decided by these magical independents that voted for Obama, then Trump, and Biden. I don't think that's what's going to decide the election. I think the turnout will ultimately decide the election. But I think those people are afraid that the guy that they put on the stage Thursday night is not capable of winning. So they're definitely more afraid of Trump, right? They're definitely more afraid of what the MAGA right represents. But they don't think that the gladiator that's been chosen, the trial by combat, which is essentially what this is, they're afraid that their champion won't be able to get the job done. Let me explain to trial by combat real quick.
Okay.
Because this is what it is. So you ever watch Game of Thrones?
Whole thing.
You watch the whole thing. Okay, so remember Tyrion Lannister, remember?
Yeah.
They accused him of killing Joffrey Baratheon.
Right.
And so he realized he couldn't get a fair trial, even though it was father and other people that were trying him. So he goes, I demand trial by combat. And they have the trial by combat. He gets to choose a champion. That's essentially what we're doing here. We're having trial by combat. And the champion that's been chosen is Joe Biden. Now think about this. Think about if your freedom is on the line. Because if your champion loses, they're going to put you to death. They're going to torture you before they do it. And they're going to then display your body out there in front of all of Westeros. You're choosing your champion. So you're going to choose, I think he chose the Sand Spider, who ended up losing to the Mountain, got his fucking head exploded, the whole nine. Before he chose Braun one time when he had to do trial by combat. Those are two fantastic fighters. A lot of people are looking at this trial by combat and they're seeing the fighter that's been chosen for them. And it's scary to them.
Okay. So if this is our champion, what I'm not going to do is not champion him. And this is what I think is problematic in what I'm saying. I think you have to call a spade a spade. Shout out to the Joe Loftus Spades party coming to a home near you.
Spades party.
He had a bad night. He did a bad job. You have to call those things out and not act like it didn't happen. That's problematic. But what we can't do is automatically turn on our champion, to use your reference. That in no way helps us defeat the Mountain or whoever it is. Like, it doesn't help. And that's what I find just so wild in what is happening so quickly. We can say he had a bad night, but let's not quit and give up on him. People have bad nights. I'm concerned, but not to the point where I'm about to say, throw in the towel and say, who's next? I think there's too much ground to cover. You might have great candidates who would do a better job, but we're too far in with Biden. So it's like, how do we rally and how do we come back? Biden has already said he wants to do the second debate. It's in September. I wish it was closer. But we have the convention in between then. He said he wants to do it again. He wants a second debate. I think Trump's going to do it. I don't see him backing out, especially because he's a narcissist.
Be a fool to black out. You'd be a fool to back out Donald Trump. You'd be a fool.
So it's like, then let's rally around him, figure out what happened, and not make it happen again. I'm sorry. That's just where we are at this point. Hate it or love it, it's where we are. We've chosen our champion, so we can't. So, like, what does it look like?
We didn't choose him. No, but we didn't choose him. We didn't choose him.
Okay, well, we'll choose him next. We'll choose him in the convention next month.
But what I'm saying is, we didn't choose him. There was no open challenge to him. There was no primary challenge to him. A lot of people had concerns about Biden's age, his virility, and his ability to. No, they were. The Democrats and Joe Biden did not listen. They chose him. And they're telling us to live with it. And what I'm saying is that's not fair. Look, here's the thing. There's no part of what happened on Thursday night that makes me reconsider who I'm going to vote for.
Sure.
I would vote for like Biden's head in a jar before I would vote for Donald Trump. However, is it concerning that Trump lied 30 times? Some of the lies in here, we have a list of them here.
Say them. Say some of the big
terrible
ones.
lies. All right, some of the big ones. That Trump said that Democratic-led states allow babies to be executed after birth. It's a terrible lie. That is definitely not true. That Iran did not fund terror groups during his presidency. Not true. That the U.S. provided more aid to Ukraine than Europe has. Not true. That Biden has for years referred to Black people as super predators. That's not true. There was a narrative around what a super predator was during the time that the crime bill was passed, but there was actually someone else who had said the term super predator, and Biden didn't specifically refer to Black people as super predators. Although I will say the crime bill itself disproportionately affected Black males. And on top of that, I think it's fair for someone to say that the image of the super predator that was propagated by the people who passed the crime bill, that image was probably of a young Black male when they were talking about someone who was incorrigible and who had to be jailed rather than rehabilitated in society. But if we want to talk about the crime bill, we're going to have to talk about the entire trough of bad ideas that were in it and some of the people who supported it who look just like me and you. Everybody owes an explanation and an apology. Biden, the Clintons, and the CBC as well. That Biden is planning to quadruple people's taxes. That Nancy Pelosi turned down 10,000 National Guard troops for the USA Capitol on January 6, 2021. That Americans don't pay the cost of his tariffs on other countries. That's a big lie. That Europe accepts no American cars. That he is the president who got the Veterans Choice Program through Congress. That actually was Obama. That fraud marred the results of the 2020 election. That's a really deeply destructive lie. And that made assertions that the U.S. currently has its biggest budget deficit and its biggest trade deficit with China. Those are both records that actually occurred under Trump. There are some truths that are true about Donald Trump's administration. He did lose more jobs than he came in with, a feat that was only that hadn't happened since Herbert Hoover. In the 4 years that he was there, he did run the budget up more than any other president. Now, there are other presidents that have run the deficit up, but those presidents had 8 years to do it. Trump was able to, in a 4-year period, run the deficit up more than anyone else. There are a lot of things that Donald Trump straight lied about. He lied about the fact that he didn't fuck Stormy Daniels. It's a lie. We know that he did, right? Part of what was going on there, people had a lot of problems with the moderation that came from CNN. In terms of fact-checking his lies, Joe Biden was not up to the task of fact-checking the lies in real time. Do you have a problem with the way CNN moderated the debate?
Listen, no, I don't. In the spirit of debating, right? It's not really up to them. That's the job of the two people on stage. But when you have that many lies in 90 minutes, I do wish, and they're that outrageous, because Joe Biden wasn't doing it, it just let these lies live as if they were the reality. And most people aren't going to go read an article that's fact-checking the debate. They're going to take it as truth. Like, why would this person who wants to be the leader of the country lie to me? That's how they're going to look at it. So because I'm anti-Trump, I wish I would have seen that from the moderators. But the way that a debate actually works, that's not their job. Their job is to move it and keep it going. It's not their job to say, hey, you're lying. Hey, you're lying. Or actually, that's not really true. We wanted to see it because Biden wasn't doing it.
Yeah. Biden came off with a couple of falsehoods during the debate as well. He used false numbers while describing two of his key Medicare policies, falsely claimed that no U.S. troops have been killed on his watch, repeated his usual misleading figure about billionaires' tax rates, basically claimed that Trump wants to eliminate Social Security, falsely said that the unemployment rate was 15% when he took office. I think it was around 6%, inaccurately said that the Border Patrol Union had endorsed him, which they came out on Twitter and debunked right away. before clarifying that he was talking about agent support for the border bill that he had back. So he did try to clean that one up a little bit. Exaggerated Trump's 2020 comments about the possibility of treating COVID-19 by injecting disinfectant. I don't know if that was that much of an exaggeration. I mean, Trump talked about that, and with the pulpit of the president, the presidency, it makes a lot of people think that it's viable. He always also talked about hitting it with an extreme light. I think you have to consider how strong the messaging coming from the presidency is when you say that he exaggerated that. I think bringing it up on Trump's part gave a certain amount of validity to it that made stupid people inject themselves with bleach. The most patriotic thing that Joe Biden could do right now is to step aside. The reality is this, though. Almost everyone that I talk to about this, people in the know, people close to the administration, that's pie in the sky. It's a political quagmire. Who do you go to? There are a couple of people out there. Obviously, you heard strong words from Gavin Newsom, who is a shiny quarter to a lot of people when they want to talk about who will replace Joe Biden. There's Gretchen Whitmer, there's Wes Moore, there's Shapiro from Pennsylvania. There are no dream candidates out there. They're just people that we think would be better in situations, particularly situations like this. But no one really mentions Kamala Harris during these conversations about who should take over. And remember, you'd have to jump her. You'd have to particularly think about the situation with Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, who I think is an impressive politician, if not a flawed one. You got to come in and step him aside and then put another white male in his 50s over Kamala Harris. The optics are terrible. And they would be really deflating to a large part of the party, particularly the part of the party that's most loyal to the Democrats, which is Black women. Who knows how they would respond to putting a white man at the top of the ticket when you've had a Black VP for the last 3.5 years, one who a lot of people feel like has been marginalized and hamstrung with what she's been able to say and how visible she's been able to be during the time she's been in Washington in the first place. So there are no easy answers here. As much as people are panicking here, there are no easy answers.
I agree. And that's part of there are a couple of things to what you just said. I agree with you. There are no easy answers. And that's part of the reason I have such a problem with when people are like, Biden's got to step aside. Okay, well then who's next? What's the resolution? Don't tell me, complain about a problem if you don't have a solution, and a good one at that. We're talking about the presidency here. Like this is an emergency. You can't just throw that out there and then not have some kind of plan of action of what is next. You don't even have one of these people that's been listed stepping up to say, I'm ready to do the job. Or Biden should step aside. All these people are being loyal, which of course makes sense. This is politics. Here's my question. Who's Joe Biden? Was it the Joe Biden we saw last night? Or is it the Joe Biden we've seen before? If he's closer to what we saw last night, then I'm willing to entertain the conversation of what is a replacement option. Is this a one-off or is this who he is? That is the question we don't know the answer to, which is why I cannot jump into this hysteria and act like we need to move on from him. I don't know which one he is. That might be the bigger problem. What I will say about Kamala, I do not think the media does a good job of talking about Kamala Harris. She was on Anderson Cooper. She was strong. She was good. But I don't know if it's because she did run for the presidency, and her campaign, it like peaked really early and then it fell really flat. And there was all this drama surrounding the way that she was running it, and people talking that were, behind the scenes with her campaign about the way she was running things. And people felt like she was good, but she wasn't fit for the presidency. That started to be the fodder around her. I think that still lingers in people's minds, and that's why she doesn't get brought up. But I also don't think the media does a good job of following her and highlighting what she does. You could say that's also the administration not putting her in the forefront.
Yeah, she does a lot. Job.
She does a lot.
But it's not
But
their job to highlight what she does, though. It's not the
it
media's
is
job to highlight what she does.
the media does pick and choose what they decide to talk about. What like
Yeah, but it's not the
she
media's
does.
job to make Kamala Harris look good.
I'm not saying it's to look good, but you can at least talk about what she's doing. And I don't think that that gets done a lot. She's not
I
sitting
think
on her
it's the
ass, not
job.
doing
I think it's
anything.
the. I think it's the job of the administration
Okay,
to
but
make
who
their.
carries that to the viewers? It's people are not logging on to the website of the president, VP, whatever, and are looking at what they're doing. It's the media who translate that. I'm not putting it all in the media. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I think, for example, we're talking about the debate. We're talking about what Gavin Newsom said. We're talking about this person. Colin was on Anderson Cooper and did a fantastic job talking about the debate. We haven't really highlighted. We're not really talking. We're talking about it. She was solid.
yeah.
She was good.
Well,
She
I
looked
mean,
like,
to be.
hey, I could. She looked like I could step in. I could step in if something happens to
Mhm.
him. That's what she looked like last night.
Can I be honest with you? Like, so the thing with me with Kamala, especially last night, was I had a lot of trepidation about her coming on Anderson Cooper. She did do well.
Mm.
She did do that. And she did what she has to do, which was go out there and make sense of everything for the president. But for them to hide her as much as they've been hiding her, for them to do that, and then to go to her when it was time for her to carry the president's water after a disastrous night in Georgia, it kind of made me, even in that situation, she was playing defense. Like she was playing defense. Yeah, she was strong. She was going back at Anderson Cooper, but she didn't have, in my opinion, the moral or intellectual high ground. She wasn't put in a good spot. He was talking about like Newsom or any of these people, and these are the people that I was talking about earlier when I was saying like, don't gaslight us. This is like people that I even consider to be friends that are talking in this way and they're saying, don't gaslight us. I mean, we watched the debate. So if we're going to have a conversation about it, let's have a conversation about it that to me accesses the moment in an emotionally and intellectually honest way, right? And, this is politics. It's a team sport. So that was going to be impossible for some people to do. But for her to have to do it right then, right after the debate, when I personally don't think that they've poured into her the way that they should have, I actually felt bad for her. Like I felt bad for that she had to come out there, and after being sort of overlooked in the time that she's been overlooked, do the work of the White House, do the work that they couldn't do on the stage in front of the entire country. I felt bad for her.
Well, she held her own. She did it. You
Yeah.
think I just thought about this as you were saying this. Do you think that we don't see her as much because she does maybe overshine him in moments when he should be the one standing out?
So
Or they're afraid of that?
If I'm fair about this is what I'll say. I think part of this with her and with us talking about the fact that we don't see her more, part of it is that we expected to see her more.
Yeah.
I'm actually not sure if we've seen Kamala Harris any more or any less than we've seen any other vice president besides Dick Cheney, who was very, very visible, right?
Well,
Who
he
was
was
very,
running
very
it.
visible. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if we've seen her any more or any less than we've seen any other vice president. I think the historic nature of her nomination and her position,
Sure.
and the fact that it was Black Americans, in my opinion, specifically Black women, who won the election from Joe Biden for Joe Biden in 2020. I think part of our disappointment with the visibility of Kamala Harris is that we expected to see her more. I don't know if I can go back and go, okay, we We saw Dan Quayle more than this. We saw George H.W. Bush more than this. We saw Al Gore
Yeah.
more than this. We saw Joe Biden more than this. We saw Mike Pence more than this. I'm actually not sure about that. I think there was expectation there that she would be a bigger political figure now than she is, that there was a part of this that would be a baton handing, and that certainly hasn't been the case.
No, you bring up a really good point. I think there was a lot of hype surrounding Kamala Harris due to her the historic nature of her being the VP, and we wanted it. And I think too, how Biden came in with the support of the Black vote, but specifically the things he was going to do, and with a Black woman by his side, we really thought, I think, not just that we would see her more, but that we would see more from her doing stuff for us. So I do think our expectations were probably a little too high, but all that to
Yeah.
say, I need people to chill out. I need people to
Mhm.
chill out. Biden is going to be the nominee. We need to rally behind him, and I don't want to hear it again. I don't. I just don't.
That's what I'll say. I would literally vote for Joe Biden's head in a jar of formaldehyde before I would vote for Donald Trump. I would. However, I'm a person, I'm a human being. A lot of the fear about a second Donald Trump administration where he's going to be full of retribution and revenge, and he's going to be armed with a Republican House. Like, I mean, think about down ballot, how running a weak president might affect things. They talked about this a little bit on some of the after shows last night. What could happen in November in terms of the House and the Senate? Think about an all-powerful, steroided up Donald Trump full of bloodlust and revenge, waging a 4-year war against American institutions and on behalf of some of the wackiest people in America. That's something that they've sufficiently been able to sell as a legitimate fear. What they haven't been able to do, in my opinion, is give people the figure that would make them feel okay about going into battle against that. And that's on them. And as much as we want to talk about it, as much as we want to say, hey, that's on them. That's their thing. And they got to wear that.
I'll give you
man.
that. I'll
Yeah.
give you some of that.
Jamal Bowman is out. He lost. There were a lot of different reactions to his loss up there. He lost to George Latimer, New York 16th District. We had Bowman on. George Latimer spent $25 million, according to ad tracking from Ad Impact. More than any other House primary in history. Nearly $15 million of that spending came from the United Democracy Project, a super PAC linked to AIPAC, a powerful pro-Israel lobby, which backed Latimer. There were some other people who lost or who won. Lauren Boebert won over there in Colorado. Some reactions there. We're not going to spend too much time about this.
Yeah.
What was your what was your thoughts about the loss of Jamal?
I mean,
what did you thought about him losing?
I'm disappointed. I really enjoyed him coming on our show, even though, we're not particularly impacted because we're not in this district, but it's upsetting to see. I think we kind of talked about this with him about is there a trend of looking at this race and seeing who was behind Latimer, who was spending money and how much money in regards to fronting him for him to win, and he did. Is this something we're going to see in other races, particularly progressive or progressives? Like, people are starting to talk about Cori Bush. Cori Bush is saying these same PACs are coming after her and are going to be challenging her and uplifting the person that she's going to be running against. Are Democrats more into the moderate Democrats? Was Bowman too focused on national issues more than he was on the district? I think that was something that was being told to some of his constituents, and they looked at that. I even saw somebody say that he had a huge part of the Jewish vote in 2020 because they were standing with Black people for Black Lives Matter, and then they were disappointed in his stance in regards to Israel. I I look at this and I look at it as telling um, of maybe what's to come with Democratic Party, less progressives, more moderates.
Hmm. The party has always tried to suppress those progressive voices. If you ask me, they just
Yeah.
don't.
But
There's
it
not.
looked like we were trending, the squad. It looked like possibly things were not turning, but slowly moving. Now,
Well, I'll be honest with you. There are a couple of reasons. Number one, I think, if I'm being completely honest, I think the most progressive uh, parts of the Democrats might have overestimated how fast things were changing. They
Mhm,
might have jumped the gun a tick in the death rattle that the corporate Democrat wing of the party was going to go through before they took them over. Um,
mhm,
and so I think that the moment realized for the progressives to have a significant part of the party might have been there might have been a little miscalculation there. Remember, the Democrats did everything they could to squash Bernie Sanders. Um, the squad and all the members of the squad have been, in my opinion, marginalized by the centrist and moderate voices in the party because they don't believe that some of the policies that progressives had can win um, in a country that is a lot more centrist and moderate than I guess people believe it to be. Even though when you look at the polling generally of a lot of the progressive uh, policies, there are a lot of Americans who agree with them.
mhm.
The point is, where are those Americans at? Uh, are there enough of them in places that in states that you need to affect House leadership and to affect leadership in the Senate? How does progressive policy play out in state and local legislatures everywhere? Right, because the Republicans, the right, they invest heavily into taking over state houses, heavily into taking over state houses, and the only way to do that is to be in lockstep with the thoughts and needs and desires of people who are like right around the corner from you. You know what I mean? And this brand of Republican of populism, uh, it just lends itself to being really super conservative. Um, and being a progressive is always about a vision for the future and imagining society in a way that works for everyone and might work for people who you don't really have very much in common with. And they might have kind of, to be honest with you, uh, they might have kind of, just overestimated how fast people were willing to embrace that. Because besides Bowman, who wasn't the strongest candidate going into this race, he wasn't. He wasn't the strongest candidate, not just because of the money that APAC is going to spend, and that's not going to stop. Uh, APAC, in my opinion, is representative of a foreign government, and they are going to try to buy elections. I mean, that's there's nothing that's just lobbying groups buy elections. APAC is a lobby, and they're going to try to buy elections. That's what they're going to try to do. The amount of money that they have uh, is pretty infinite, and they want the pro-Israel lobby to exist in American politics, and that's going to be a bipartisan effort. They're going to fund Democrats against other Democrats. They're going to fund Republicans against other Republicans, and all of these other issues aren't going to matter. Doesn't matter whether or not you believe that the elections are rigged or not, whether or not you believe in voting rights, whether or not you believe in that. It's a one issue lobby, and they are going to come for anyone who does not completely, completely agree with Zionism in its practice, both over there and like as a worldwide political movement. So that's going to be that. The question is, how strong of a candidate are you going into that? And I don't think Jamal Bowman was quite as strong this year as he was in 2020, and that's just being fair to the entire thing. But I see a lot of other people in the squad moving to the middle a little bit. I see people
Mm.
who still have some of their ideals intact, but realize that if they want a future in politics, that they might have to glad hand and
Bend the
shake some
knee.
hands, that they bend the knee a little bit, a little bit. This is why, your belief should be in policy and not people. All right, moving on. Jamal has a bright future. I believe him to be a good man. And I think there'll probably be lessons learned from this too. This Latimer guy, I don't know that much about him, but I do know that he's probably a right winger. Oh, Bronny James. Rachel.
Bronny. What?
55 to the Lakers. 55th pick. Bronny James, son of LeBron James. He's going to play alongside his father. Bronny James reacted to being drafted by the Lakers with a post on Instagram saying he was beyond blessed. Okay.
Yes, he is. At least he knows.
Beyond blessed. Yeah, he's beyond blessed. Rachel, what do you think about the drafting of Bronny James?
I've kind of changed my mind a bit
Okay.
after listening to some people talk. But I do, and when I say that, I mean in the sense of I was like, this isn't right. It's not fair. He took somebody's spot. But after listening to some people talk who are much more educated on the subject than me, I understand it, right? I'm not. It's also a lot of people in the second round don't make the team. They go to the G League. They may go overseas. You don't really like it's for optics and history. I feel like more than anything. But as I watched all the talk about will he be drafted, will he go to the Lakers, and then I watched people say that Rich Paul was allegedly calling other owners and saying, do not draft him unless it's Phoenix or the Lakers because he's going to go to Australia. I feel so sorry for Bronny. He is blessed. He clearly has a family that loves him and wants to see him succeed and really is doing everything in their power to make that happen for him, which LeBron broke down doors for that to happen, right? I'm not saying that I've even benefited from nepotism. So yes, I have fan smiles. My dad was a lawyer than a judge. My first job that I got out of law school when law firms weren't hiring, I didn't go to Harvard. I didn't go to one of the top schools. I was on top of my class. I was smart, but I didn't have necessarily the numbers. My dad called in and got me a job with people he used to work with. And then from then on, I was able to prove myself. But I remember my dad saying something, I'm gonna butcher this, but I remember him saying something along the lines of that is what they do for each other. So why would I not do that for you? Part of the reason that my dad is still in his 70s is a federal judge when he could take senior status is because he wants to make sure that Black people are given the opportunity to clerk and have the other opportunities that white clerks are. They're just not given the same, especially when there's no representation. Yeah. So I understand what LeBron James is doing, which is why I've changed my stance. But I still feel sorry for Bronny. I really do. He just has I'm not saying he's not strong enough to do it, but he has such an uphill battle. Everybody's going to be talking about this draft and what LeBron and Rich Paul did and the Lakers did. And, they're going to be talking about his stats. And if this was somebody else, it wouldn't have happened. And I just want him to be able to play a game that he loves. I know he's going to work hard. He's going to get mentored under the best of the best. But I just am like, gosh, I just want him to be able to play and not have to, navigate all of this as well. And I just feel so bad for him at the same time. Yes, he just got drafted and he's going to the Lakers and he's LeBron James' son, namesake. But I still feel bad for him. He's a kid.
Yeah. All right. So talking about the nepotism part of this, did you hear what Jay Williams had to say about this?
Let me hear it again.
Yeah, Ash, could you play that real quick? Jay Williams from over there on ESPN.
First off, I think nepotism has a different definition because I've been in a lot of rooms where I've seen it to people who aren't worthy of the opportunity. And if you're not worthy of the opportunity, then I'm going to get angry about the opportunity you were afforded, but I understand how the game is played. 99.9% of the time, none of those people look like us, Perk. And I think when I saw a lot of this chatter online from people that look like us, I'm like, hold on, don't we need more instances of black nepotism, especially when that person has the disposition and a demeanor of somebody that's worthy of being put in that position.
Okay.
So when I look at Bronny, I watch games. I've seen games where he showed up to games 2.5 hours early.
That's right.
Where he stayed after the games working out.
Yeah.
Where I've talked to him and he said the right things.
After Laker games, he's on a basketball court shooting.
Even at the way he's handled the McDonald's All-American game. Even the way LeBron has handled his career. Why is that not worthy of the opportunity of being drafted in the second round? Which, by the way, none of these fans could tell me any other player that was drafted with the 55th pick in the second round of any other year in the draft.
Okay, so here's the deal. All right, so here's the reality about this conversation. There are two things that I feel like are cluttering this conversation. One is dick riding.
That's obviously going on.
Okay. So one is dick riding, and the other one is capitalism. All right. So the dick riding comes from the fact, and that's the only word I can use it. The dick riding comes from this fact. We love LeBron James. And the way that LeBron James is loved has been earned. I'll go ahead and ride a little dick myself right now. LeBron James is a superb example of an athletic career. Not a good one, a superb example, right? If you ask me who's a greater player out of LeBron and Michael Jordan, I would say Michael Jordan. If you ask me who I'd rather be, the answer would be Kobe. No, the answer would be LeBron James. When you look at LeBron James, you see a singular American success story and somebody who then took that and started a school, has given back, hasn't been apolitical, hasn't been someone who's gone along to get along, who's used his platform, not all the times and things I agree with, but to affect change, and has been such an amazing father, husband, and role model. It's fantastic. So when you see this, you go, oh my God, it's LeBron. I don't want to say anything wrong about this guy and his beautiful family and everything that he's accomplished. This is wrong. And there are reasons that are deeper than just sports as to why this is wrong. Jay asked a question right there. I think the question was, should we want black nepotism, basically? Like, shouldn't we want nepotism for black people in this situation? No, not really. I mean, no. This is what I did. I went down for the last 10 years and looked at the 55th pick of the draft. 10 years. 7 out of 10 of them are black. 7 out of 10 of those guys are black. 70%, which is about the percentage of black players in the NBA. 7 out of 10 of them. Now, not a lot of these guys are making contributions on an NBA team, but understand what getting drafted does. Getting drafted makes it easier for you to contribute to an NBA team. It makes it easier because it ties you to the team. You're a part of the team's organization. If you're a Fred VanVleet or somebody like that, being connected to the team makes your road there easier. All right? So for a guy to get that opportunity and be in that spot, it does mean a lot. It doesn't mean that you're going to have a long NBA career. It doesn't mean that you're going to have an NBA career at all. But the fact that you were drafted into the NBA makes it easier for you to go overseas. It makes it easier for you to procure an agent. It makes it easier for you to do all of those things. So he got somebody's spot when there's no way to argue that he deserved it. That's not to say that LeBron James Jr., that Bronny is not an NBA prospect. He is and he would have been. But he's not right now. He hasn't earned that right now. He just hasn't. Something else I think about when I think about this. LeBron James Jr. he can't control the fact that he is going to be the recipient of nepotism for his entire life. He will be. He
Right.
will be the recipient of nepotism.
Yes.
But we have to think about things in the way that we think them, in the way that we look at them. As Black people, as a community and a culture, do we want things to be equal and fair? Do we want equality? Or do we want access to the same domination and inequality that white people have access to? Do we want to be free or do we want to be white? Because saying that white people have been able to do this so that we should be able to do it is different than saying, hey, we want things to be on an equal playing field. We want power, success, and equality for our community. Do we want to be able to do something that's wrong just because white people can do it and it's wrong? That's the
Okay.
question I always ask. And let me tell you, just real quick, and I'll tell you why I asked this. We talked about wealth inequality within between Black people and white people on a podcast not too long ago. Do you know what's even more striking than those numbers?
What?
Intra-community wealth inequality. According to the Pew Research study, rich Black people are 19 times wealthier than middle-class Black people. And they are 1,300 times richer than poor Black people. Rich Black people are 1,382 times richer than poor Black people.
What's a rich
So the
Black person
nepotism,
considered to be?
Are
there numbers attached to it? Like what's rich? What's wealthy?
there are. Like you're in the 1%, your wealth is above $500,000, all of that stuff. But like when you're talking about that, those are numbers that, like, when you talk about who's wealthy, what your net worth is, right? So when I'm looking at this, I'm saying, okay, like the Black nepotism that you want, it actually chokes the mobility of people that we say that we're fighting for and trying to represent every single day. It actually stops their mobility. If LeBron James is going to hand his company to his kid, cool. We see people do that. If LeBron James is going to build a business for his kid, cool. That's soft nepotism. But to leverage his power as an NBA star, to take a spot from somebody else, that's like directly affecting someone's
It's different.
access. It's not the same.
So I understand what you're saying. And some of the reasons is that I had an issue with it at the beginning. I think what's happening is, from what I watch, people are minimizing what the 55th spot means. And I think that, to your point, hearing your name, which we heard Rich Paul say, I think he said it on the Pivot podcast, it was important for LeBron. He said he wanted to hear his name. And they gave that to him. I don't want to say they bought it, but they made the opportunity happen for him to hear his name where somebody else didn't. Yeah, you're right. He's not qualified to be the 55th pick. We know that. But I will say, to your point about nepotism and do we want to be white or do we want to be equal? The pushback that I'll give to that is there's something in between there. When we don't have representation, there are a lot of times where we are qualified and we won't even be looked at. So to the point of what I said about like my dad, he's not taking a Bronny James and giving him the position of a clerkship because he doesn't have qualifications. He's giving the opportunity for somebody who would be overlooked as a Black, brown, whatever person that is qualified to be there, that isn't necessarily getting those spots, right? People are giving it to white. But do you understand what I'm saying? I know you're looking at me. Maybe I'm not articulating this right.
Like I said,
so that's not being white to me, or we're not in the room. So they're picking people who look like them, or maybe they have a connection to. They might be qualified, but they're still like, oh, they went to my alma mater. Oh, I know their parents. Oh, they work with me. So if a person like my dad is in a position to see a qualified minority and bring them up when they might otherwise not be chosen. That to me is equality. That's not being white. They deserve to be there, right? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like there's
I
a
do.
space in
So
between. I don't think it's either, it's one or the other. There's something in between that I do think minorities are deserving of. That doesn't
so
always
this is what I
happen.
would say. If it is, I like to hire Black people and have Black people around me, right? I like to have that sort of culture. I like to hire Black people. This is what I would say though. There's a difference between giving somebody who's qualified a shot and giving somebody who's not qualified or hasn't
Right. That's my
earned it,
point.
putting them in position. Right. So what I'm saying is when we're talking about nepotism and the corrosive part of nepotism, that's essentially what we're talking about. For example, George W. Bush. Ridiculous nepotism, right? George W. Bush
Right.
had never really succeeded at anything in his life. He didn't, like seriously, he had never really succeeded at anything in his life. He had failed and failed and failed and failed, being investigated by different people, failed and failed and failed and failed, and goes, I'll try politics, I'll run on my family name. And he became the president,
Right.
right? Barack Obama, singularly the most qualified guy ever to become the president, and they treated him like he was the idiot, right? So when I'm talking about like taking a spot from somebody who earned it, and by the way, somebody who needs it, that's the part of it to where I look at some of the stuff that people are saying, and I'm like, well, no, I don't want to look. If you have a company and you're going to say, hey, I'm going to raise my kid to take my company over, just let you know
Right.
you're going to be working for him. Fine,
Mhm.
cool, whatever. But if we're all trying to be scientists and your kid is a booger eater, and then you get him a job somewhere else where somebody who actually should have the opportunity to where it really matters for them, I don't think that there's any value in doing that, particularly if the person whose job that you're going to be taking is probably going to be Black. Like Big DJ Burns, right? Big DJ Burns from NC State. Y'all saw him. He lost 45 pounds for the draft.
He didn't get drafted?
Didn't get drafted. Lost 45 pounds from the draft. Now, I'm not saying Bronny took his spot, but I'm saying here's a guy that took his team deep into the tournament, right? Is a project, 6'9", but lost 50 pounds to get to the draft, somebody who needs to change his family's life, and they drafted LeBron James' kid to the Lakers.
I mean, yeah, we should say for people who don't really pay attention, getting drafted in the second round does not guarantee you a spot on the team, and there's no guarantee contract. I just want to say that because you said just because if that had been his spot, let's just speak hypothetically, it doesn't mean it would have changed.
But we have to
It
also
wouldn't
say
have
this.
changed his family's
LeBron
life.
James Jr. But what I'm saying is the opportunity to change it. LeBron James Jr. is now in the Lakers organization. And by the way, DJ Burns did get signed. Yeah, he did get signed. I think he got signed yesterday or something like that. But it ties you to the team. It makes you a part of the team.
You're right.
To get it's a bit, yeah.
This is why I feel so sorry for LeBron. I mean, for Bronny. These are the conversations that are always going to follow him. He is not. People are going to do him no favor should he make the roster and be a part of the team, even if he makes G League and he plays for the South Bay Lakers. He's got such an uphill battle. This will always be, if he works as hard as he does and he becomes one of the best players in the NBA, people will always talk about him. People will always say he didn't deserve this. People will always say his dad bought this for him. And that's what makes it sad. Jay Will talks about his integrity. Nobody's going to take that away from Bronny. He might work hard. He might be shooting in the gym later and earlier than everybody else. He might have a positive attitude, encourage his teammates, easy to work with. That doesn't necessarily mean it translates to numbers and how he is on the court. But all of that goes out the window when we start having these conversations about why he got to be the 55th pick. Right. I just feel so, and he didn't ask for that, right? Of course, he's not going to say no to it. He's not going to say no.
I mean, look.
But it's sad to me It's sad. And what are they
Giannis's
gonna do for
brother.
Bryce? What are they gonna do for Bryce?
I mean, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. As a basketball player, Bronny has a lot of promise. He actually does. I saw him working out a couple of days ago. He has a lot of promise. I personally think that with a couple more years in college, he averaged like 5 points a game last year. It just wasn't. He
And
came out as
had
a
a
one and
D
done.
that had a medical issue.
Right. It's awesome that the kid's been there. He's actually overcome a lot, and I literally wish him nothing but the best. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I think there's a chance that he becomes a pretty decent pro, because I think that it probably would have happened, right? And the younger boy is a little bit bigger. He can really shoot it. There's a lot of things going on and all of that stuff. So he might actually be a decent prospect by the time he comes out of Sierra Canyon too. Like I said, it's not unheard of. Giannis has his brother playing on the team over there in Milwaukee. He's arguably the worst player in the NBA, maybe the worst player, one of the worst players in the history of the league. So it's facts. But he gives us some entertainment. I'm just saying, LeBron James lived a certain type of life where he needed the NBA to change his life.
Sure.
And he had the talent to make him a can't miss. There are other people that need to work their way into the league, and they need those same types of things. And a lot of times they be young black men. And there's a young black man that was deserving, that did make the McDonald's All-American team because LeBron James Jr. was on it. All of these accolades and all of these things, it's that type of nepotism. I don't want that to exist. I don't want that. I don't.
Who would you
I don't care
rather
who called
be?
and got you a job.
The kid who didn't get it? I feel so sorry for this kid. I do. I wish him all the best. I hope he really just impresses all the naysayers. But I'll tell you what, everybody gonna be watching that first G League game. Not G League, third league game. Everybody's gonna be watching. Are we going?
I'll go. I'll go to some of the league. Look, I hope he does great. Good kid.
Of course
good
we
kid
do.
And very
We're
talented.
rooting for him. But
I just think he hadn't earned a spot in the NBA yet.
He hasn't.
Right.
And he hasn't been given one yet.
Yeah.
Sorry. We got mailbag today?
Yeah, we got mailbag. Let's go with mailbag. Mailbag, we out of here. Mailbag time. Time to read your letters and then we'll reply to them. Oh, it's mailbag time. Write us with your queries and we'll chime in.
For mailbag, the first question is from Queen B12. What movie do you watch when you need to cheer up? And what movie do you watch when you need a good cry?
Oof. This is a Van question.
When I need to cheer up, it's a good question.
I got it. When I need to cheer up, you think about
it.
When I need to cheer up, I love The Devil Wears Prada. So I don't know if it cheers me up, but I just love that movie. And it just makes me happy and I'm entertained and it distracts me from whatever else is going on. When I need a cry, it's Legends of the Fall.
Oh, wow.
It's Legends of the Fall.
Legends of the Fall is good. When I need to cheer up, it might be, it's going to sound stupid, but you ever watch You've Got Mail?
Is that so it's a rom-coms. Rom-coms do it for you.
It's a delightful little movie.
It is delightful. It's a good word.
Delightful little movie. When I need to cry, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I don't really, there's a lot of movies that get to me. When I need to cry, it's Shawshank Redemption.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Always gets to me. Yeah.
Okay. This one's from Lions R12. How would your 16-year-old selves react if they could see your lives and careers right now?
Oh,
man.
I would be happy. I would definitely be happy, living out in Los Angeles and doing the whole nine. I think I'd be pretty proud of myself.
I think professionally, 16-year-old Rachel would be thrilled, a little confused because she thought she would just be practicing law, but she would be thrilled. Um, I think personally, when I think of who I was at 16, I was very, walking the straight and narrow. I thought I would get married young, have all these kids. So she'd be a little surprised that, she's 39,
Mm.
divorced, no kids, and she out here. But she would be,
Damn.
but she would also say, 39, Rachel would tell her that you're the happiest that she probably ever been.
Nice.
Okay. This one's from Wild Nichettes, I think. Who gets stopped more in public for a photograph, Van or Rachel?
Oh, Van.
I don't know if that's true.
We've never been together when that's happened. I've never been around, right? Have we been out in public where there's a big crowd?
I don't know.
I
But
don't
I'm
think
sure
so.
I'm like people. I think I get stopped for photos all the time. But
See, there you
I'm
go. I
sure.
wouldn't say that.
I mean, I know that you do though. Like
I think
everyone,
Van
yeah.
does. I think Van gets stopped more.
I don't know. That might be bullshit. All right, next.
All right. Dark Blue X2. They ask, which American city's Black population has the biggest influence on Black American culture overall?
Which American city's Black population has the bigger? Probably Atlanta.
Yeah, it's definitely Atlanta.
Probably Atlanta. Atlanta. I would have to say Atlanta, just because so much music, art, and culture come out of Atlanta. Houston up there too, though.
That's because a bunch of Atlanta folks are moving to Houston. I was just in Houston. The Houston folks are complaining.
They
It's
don't
not
like
the
it.
same city. They don't like it. It's not the same city, I'll say. When I was there for Memorial Weekend, I was like, it's different.
Let me ask you a question. Grass being on the walls of a place. Now that I don't have any grass on my walls, grass being on the walls of a place, is that an Atlanta thing? You know what I'm talking about? Like you go to a
I don't
place
see, I
for
see that up
brunch and they got
here
grass
in
on the
LA.
walls.
I see that
You see that?
everywhere. Yeah, I see that everywhere.
I don't like grass on the walls, man. I do not like it.
It's not real.
I know, but it's just, why would there be grass on the walls?
Because the green background is pretty. First off, it's not real. It's not grass. But then there's usually a sign, that's rose all day, or, it's everything's a photo op these days. So it's usually grass plus something else. Now you got me saying grass. Greenery plus something else. It's very random. You definitely don't just see that in Atlanta. I see that when people brunch. I see it at brunch places, trendy places, because they want
I
people to
see
take
it
a
a
picture in
lot of
front of it.
Atlanta, these different twerk-inspired brunches with grass on the walls. And I don't want
It's a
grass
lot
on the
of
walls.
Okay, it's a lot of
Grass,
places.
grass on the walls makes me think about soil on the walls. That makes me think about bugs in the soil.
It's
That
not
makes me think
real.
about eating under bugs. Do you understand what I'm saying though? Like
Yes,
it's grass on the walls makes me feel like I'm eating. I don't really like to eat outdoors. Did you know this about me?
I can see that. I did not know that about you, but I can understand. You don't want to have to constantly be shooing things away or something fall on you. You got to work to eat. I get that.
Even when I'm at a cookout, I like to take the food back inside of whoever's house it is and eat in there.
Have you had a traumatic experience?
Maringouin, Louisiana, where we would go out home and we would eat at Aunt Deuce's place, or we'd be out there, and it's just a lot of wildlife. When you're out there, you're trying to eat, and when you got your food in your plate, the wildlife, they check on you. They check to see what's up. And when I'm telling you wildlife, I'm talking about real wildlife in Maringouin. We talking about we're talking about the Atchafalaya Raymond. We're talking about real wildlife. Like you look
Okay.
over and you see a fucking animal, like a real animal. And the animal sees you eating your plate and the animal just checks in with you like, I'm coming to get that. I'm coming to get that. And you're a kid. So you don't know what these animals that you're looking at are. You might see a fucking boar. They got bears. You know what I'm saying? Like, and people are just out there eating like they don't fucking care. Oh, it's a snake. Pick the snake up, throw the snake. Like, it's like they've been out there. But for me, I was just like, yo, man, who wants to fucking eat this fucking Zoobly Zoo? Everyone around. And I just never, after that, fucking, hold on. Something else, by the way, you know what's underrated when you're eating outside in the country? Big ass fucking birds. Gigantic fucking birds that see everybody eating a bit, and you'll look up, and the people that live out there, they never care. You'll look up, what is that? Oh, we call that a dragon hawk. Yeah, some years ago, one of them came and picked your cousin up, took him away. We couldn't find him for 5 days. Found him by the bayou. Yeah, go ahead and get you some of them hot links though. Like all of that. So I don't like to eat outdoors.
And I've actually had a bird swoop down and take the link out of my hot dog and keep moving. See, like that's part of my trauma with birds. People think I'm weird about this. Can you imagine how traumatic that is as a child? I love hot dogs. You got this hot dog in your hand. It's warm. Juicy. Just cannot wait to take a bite out of it. And then out of nowhere, this huge bird swoops down, clean with it too. Took the link, left the buns, kept it moving.
Yeah.
I've experienced it. It's traumatic, but I'll still eat outside. I like a view.
Yeah, I don't like it. Last question.
Okay, this one's from Sad Particular 2097. Big Rach locking up Caitlin Clark got me thinking. What's an irrational confidence moment that backfires spectacularly?
Okay. Don't be using me for the question. I never said I was irrational. An irrational moment that backfires. I was in the MLB All-Star game. Baseball. MLB. I said that. Had no business being out there. They had a girl on each team. It was just right after the Bachelorette. They had me playing shortstop. I've never played baseball or softball in my life. But for some reason, I committed to it. Jason Taylor hits the ball high up in the air. It's coming right to me. I'm like, I got this. I shoo people away, right? I'm shooing them. I got this. I look up and all of a sudden I lose it in the lights. It hits me smack dab in my chest live on national TV. I never came back into the game. It was embarrassing. It was irrational. I never should have been out there. Shortstop, very difficult position to play. I shouldn't, I don't know who I thought I was. And backfire.
So
I did pay
mine
a little
happened
bit to Jason Taylor come over to me and help me, but keep going.
Ooh, Joy's brother.
He's married now.
Yeah, you like a little beige.
Keep
you
going.
like a beige wonder. You like a Twinkie looking nigga. You want the cream filling. Okay. All right. Okay, let's move on.
Yes.
Like Joy and Jason, they are, first of all, a beautiful family. They are like Twinkie colored though. It's a whole Twinkie family. Have you seen them?
Keep going. What do you mean I've seen them? She's
people.
my friend.
Beautiful Twinkie people is what they are. Twinkies. So some years ago, when I started boxing, Phil, shout out to Phil Polino over at Polino Boxing. He said, "Hey man, there's a southpaw. There's a guy that wants some sparring. He needs a southpaw to spar. And look, when you tell me that you need some sparring, I'm thinking there's other niggas that got regular jobs. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's like, somebody that's on Extra or, I don't know, they work at Sony. These are the people that I was sparring against, especially because I've only been boxing
Mario
for like 6 months.
Lopez.
He got hands, though. He could fight. But This one was not that. This guy was going to fight Luis Ortiz in the Staples Center that weekend. His name was Razvan something. A big Romanian. The guy was like 6'8", 270. And he had been fighting for a long time. And this was not this current version of me. This was me when I was around 230, 235, and I was a new boxer. And I got there, and when I was looking around, I might have told this story before. I was looking around, I was like, hey, this looks like a pro gym. I see niggas in here doing neck exercises, They doing, it's like, this was like a pro gym. We have pros at our gym too, but I was new as a boxer. The guy came out and I saw him, and I was like, fuck it.
Wow.
I know what I can do. I was like, fuck it. I was like, I was like, fuck it. I'm a fight. I'm a fight. Ass whipping. By the fourth round, I couldn't even see nothing. All I could do is I could just, I'm serious. I could hear Phil's voice. I literally, Van, you're standing in front of him too much. Move, Van. Move, Van. Move. And when we finished, the guy's name is Razvan Kajanu. He doesn't have the best record in the world. He's 17-7, but he fucked me up. And it was bad. I was getting
How do you
destroyed.
think you do against him today?
He beat the shit out of me again. The fucking guy, what are you talking about?
I know, but you have more boxing experience now.
I know. I will be able to probably last longer and do a little bit more. But look, he as an amateur, he represented Romania. He won a gold medal in the super heavyweight division. He was the first Romanian ever to fight for a world heavyweight title. I'm like, fuck it.
6'8" should have been your clue.
Yeah. He's 6'8", 6'8", and he put the jab on me in the right hand. He fucked me up. Anyway, all right. We gotta go. Rach, how are you feeling about the Democrats right now? You feeling all right?
I don't know. Time will tell. Right now, I'm a little disappointed in how we're responding to this debate, but we'll see.
We'll see what happens. Stay the course, everybody, and remember, don't gaslight your voters. Keep it all the way real. We'll see what happens. Take your think caps off, but do not stop learning. I'm Van Lathan Jr.
I'm Rachel Lynn Lindsay. Bye, guys.